The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters was originally broadcast on January 30th, 2024.
It's time now for Business Matters, brought to you by Mokulele Airlines. Now here's your host, Pam Tumpap. Good morning, Pam. How are you this morning?
Hey, good morning, Gary. I am wonderful today. How about you?
It's another beautiful Maui day, you know?
It is. It's shaping up to be gorgeous. Up in Pukwani, put a little gray the last few days, but it's looking good now.
But we need the rain. We need the rain. We like rain.
I am so grateful for the rain. Really I am.
But we could do without the wind.
Yeah, without the wind would be good. And that's getting scary. So for those folks who have brush around you, get out those weed whackers. We want to make sure we're creating 15 feet fire breaks, around different structures. So make sure that you're doing that. Well, Gary, I'm going to let you call Gunnar to see if we can reach him. But thanks so much for all you do for our show. We always appreciate you. And for those who are listening, I'm Pamela Tumba, president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to our Business Matters radio show, sponsored by Mokulele Airlines. Today, we're going to talk to two gentlemen who have been through a lot. We're going to talk with Gunars Valkirs of Maui Ku'ia State Chocolate, who has his farm out there in Lahaina and his business in Lahaina. And thankfully, he was able to get back to his business operation without great damage, like others have experienced. And we're going to talk to Joe Pluta, who is a real estate broker and president of the West Maui Improvement Foundation. And Joe, if you don't know Joe, although he's been all over both local and national media, Joe Pluta has been a very proactive and staunch supporter of an Olowalu fire station and additional fire stations on Maui. And he's going to share some of his remarkable story. He has lost a lot during the wildfires. And so he's going to share how he has been coming through that and the work that they're doing on the Olowalu fire station and in Lahaina. So we're really excited to talk to both of them. And Gary,
Yes, we have Gunars on the phone.
Oh, we have Gunars. Great. Awesome. Well, good morning and welcome, Gunars. How are you?
Hi, Pam. I'm fine.
Oh, great. Well, let me tell everybody a bit about you. You have had a distinguished career in developing groundbreaking tests in the medical diagnostics field, including the first fast pregnancy test and the first blood test for congestive heart failure, which are two amazing feats. And after the sale of your company, BioSite Incorporated, that you co-founded, you moved to Maui in 2007 to retire and to give back to the nonprofit community here through your family foundation, the Makana Aloha Foundation. 5 years into retirement, you decided that you needed to engage again in something to keep you very busy, which it has, and began to grow cacao that has developed into a farm to bar chocolate company with a factory in Lahaina that is entirely off-grid. I remember when you brought in the Tesla batteries, and it was unique to Maui, and we had to look at how to do that even. So good morning. I'm so glad to have you on the show this morning.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
I love at first that your mission with Maui Ku'ia State Chocolate was about supporting our nonprofit. Can you tell everybody a little bit about that and why that was so important to you?
Well, we did that already through our family foundation. But when I decided I wanted to start growing cacao, I leased land from Kamehameha Schools and started growing without any real intention of forming a chocolate company. I wanted to grow cacao. I thought I might be able to do that and break even. And it was intriguing to me that, Hawaii is the only state in the United States where you can grow cacao. So I do like chocolate, but I was by no means a chocolate aficionado, or I wasn't obsessed with it. I wanted to grow cacao. But then I realized in 2016, after growing for several years, that the cost of growing cacao, especially, but just about anything in Hawaii, is very high because of labor costs. And I had to make a decision: either shut the farm down because I was never going to be able to sell the cacao for what it cost me to produce it, or to make chocolate. So the question then became, well, why do that? Why not just go back to retirement and shut the farm down? So the answer to that lies in getting back to the community. So we established the mission statement in 2016 before we broke ground on the factory, that we would give 100% of our net profit back to the Maui nonprofit community. And that is our mission statement, has been ever since, and it's the reason the chocolate factory was built.
It really is. For those who haven't seen it, it is a beautiful chocolate factory. Um, and you have received great acclaim. You won both international and national awards for the quality of your cacao and chocolate. Those are amazing feats. Can you tell tell us a little bit about how that came about and how you got those great awards and recognition?
Well, I have to give some credit to Dan O'Doherty, who's my vice president of chocolate operations. He's been involved in the world cacao community ever since he left graduate school, roughly 2010. And he became an internationally acclaimed consultant. He was my consultant. Now he's my employee. And he really is a master at what happens on the farm, which is largely where the flavor of the chocolate is baked into the bean before it leaves the farm. So, there's not much a chocolate maker can do. If they start with bad quality cacao, you're going to make bad chocolate. If you start with great cacao, you can make great chocolate. But these international awards are largely the result of us submitting either our cacao or our chocolate to competitions. And there's one major competition for growers called the Cacao of Excellence Awards. And we won that in 2021 for the Asia Pacific region. They break it up into 4 regions of the world, and roughly 300 submissions. We were selected and given a gold award for the Asia Pacific region in 2021. We recently got notified that we are in the finals for the same award in 2023, to be given out in Amsterdam next month in February.
Wow.
So actually, it's just a couple of weeks away. So we don't know what level of award we're getting, but it's either gold, silver, or bronze. We're already in the finals of that competition,
Wow,
and you get one of those 3. And then the other competition is the chocolate maker competition. It's called the Good Food Awards. And it's a major competition run by the Good Food Foundation. They have multiple food categories, but chocolate is one of the largest and most competitive. And in 2022, we won the dark chocolate category up against all of the best chocolate makers in the United States. We're also in the finals this year for a Good Food Award. I don't know whether we won. We're in the finals. They don't announce it until April. But again, just indicates the quality of the chocolate that we make, and also the quality of the starting materials that we use.
Yes, and you are working with others to really use other local produce to create your flavors. How many different flavors do you have?
Well, we have about 9, but 3 of them are the unique ones that we make from local produce. And those are mangoes that we grow on our farm, guava that's growing wild in Kapalua, I just pick it, and calamansi, which is growing in my home orchard. So we have very local sources that we control, that we use to make our unique flavors, the mango, guava, and calamansi. We have other flavors that are essential oil-based flavors that we can buy. And we have coffee, of course, Maui coffee, which we put into the chocolate as well to flavor it. So there's a lot of options in terms of flavorings, but our flagship products are Maui grown chocolates, which we don't flavor. The Maui grown dark and dark milk chocolate, which we make exclusively from cacao grown on our farm. We don't blend it with anything. It's 100% Maui grown. And those are our flagship products.
And what is your most popular flavor?
I would have to say it's the mango dark chocolate. That is the most popular. Closely followed by something we call OMG, which doesn't stand for what you think. It stands for orange mango guava. Of course, it has another. Of course, it has another connotation, which is not a bad one either.
I was going to say it works both ways.
Yeah, I expect you to have that reaction when you taste the chocolate, right? Some people even actually say that out loud when they taste the chocolate. So it's very good.
It is very good. Actually, I think I love all of your flavors, but when that came out a little later, and I really do love that blend. I think it is one of my favorites. One of my
Yeah, I think it's a very close second to the mango. The mango came out first and it's been established for a longer time, but I think OMG will eventually overcome it.
Yeah, they're all amazing. One of the things that you shared with me, I remember when we first met, is that your chocolate is really meant to be savored. And this is a premium quality chocolate. You eat it very slowly. You let the flavors, really hit your tongue and really get to taste it and enjoy it. And you eat it in that way. For people who really love chocolate, sometimes those rolls to get it, we just want to bite right in. But if you really take the time to let the flavors linger on your tongue, it's just such a joyous experience. And you're going to really get all that flavor, really be able to discern that.
Right, and the other thing we have done in our packaging that sort of highlights, flavors and variety is that we make small squares, individually wrapped small squares. Most of our production is in that form. They're 5-gram squares, which is basically one bite, and that way you can enjoy, 3 or 4 different chocolates without opening a big bar. You just open these individual squares. Each one is 30 calories, so it's not many calories. And you can have 4 or 5 of them, after dinner or really any time you want. And you're not consuming too much, but you're enjoying it immensely.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have gone through a lot since you started
Oh, yeah.
this business. Let's talk a little bit. I want to spend more time on what you've been through lately. But as somebody who was very well versed, ran a very successful business, now you started a very different business than your background would suggest. Tell us about what it was like going through COVID-19 and what were some of the hardships and how did you make it through?
Well, the problem with COVID was that we were launching the company just as it hit. So we had no established customer base. We were selling to hotels, large wholesale customers are hotels primarily. And the product was being very well received. We, had opened our retail store literally 2 days before the shutdown. And of course, we didn't have a customer base. So when the shutdown occurred, all we had was online. That's the only thing we could do. And because we had no customer base, that was a very small business. I couldn't keep us sustained. So basically, how did we survive? I poured a bunch of money into the company. That's how we survived. And unfortunately, that had to happen. Otherwise, I would have had to shut down operations. So that wasn't pleasant. It did sort of set us back quite a bit. And as you know, in Hawaii, the COVID shutdown was very long, and even after it opened up, the visitors slowly came back. So it took probably a good 2 years from the time that the shutdown started until people started to feel a little more like normal. But
Yeah.
it was a long period. It was difficult, and it took a lot of cash inflow to make the company survive.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, we talked early on after, COVID hit and you shut down and all those businesses were shut down during that time. It was just a horrific period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't have any secrets for how to generate revenue when there aren't any customers. That's
Yeah.
difficult.
Well, one of
Uh,
the things I wondered, and I didn't know if you had done it or not, and is whether you had taken advantage of like an SBA loan.
no,
That had
because
I don't,
I already had a bank loan for the construction of the factory, and I decided that I would rather put money into the company than take out another loan and go farther into debt.
yeah, that's low, and that's very helpful. We have so many companies right now who have idle loans from what happened during COVID, and of course, with the devastation of the
Right.
wildfire.
Well, with the recent fire, I think that SBA was out here, offering loans, but I think everybody already had, a lot of debt from COVID. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure how much that was really helpful.
very little from what we're finding, but we can't get exact numbers. But it's a very small percentage of the overall loans that they did, mostly home and some equipment. But they struggled again with the debt that was on hand. So we're very excited to do a listening session in February with later next week, actually, I guess, with the administrator Isno and Guzma to explain, what the hardships of that, because it's so important for them to understand how we're very different in this market as well. But you survived COVID, and then you and I talked when the Lahaina wildfires hit. Why don't you share with our community what happened then and how while you weren't devastated the way some of the others were, what some of the big challenges were for your company?
Right. So our factory was actually not affected in terms of damage. I had no property damage, which in some ways is a blessing, but in other ways, I got no insurance coverage for it
Yeah,
because no property damage. And even though my business was interrupted for a long time, usually business interruption insurance is dependent upon property damage, so I didn't get that either. So I really sort of on my own, there was a very small payment I got for insurance based on 2 weeks of civil authorities blocking our path to the factory. But they actually blocked it for 5 weeks. So we couldn't get into the factory for 5 weeks after the fire. And during that time, we built up a very large backlog of online orders. So our online business was the only thing that we could operate, that we couldn't get into the factory to fill the orders. Fortunately, after 5 weeks, we did finally get into the factory, started filling those orders, and people were very, very patient. We kept sending them messages saying, what the situation was, why we couldn't fill their orders, and finally got around to doing that. And really, our backlog was maintained until almost the day before Christmas, on the final shipping day before
yeah,
Christmas. We finally caught up to our backlog of online orders. So,
wow,
I mean, our staff was working really, really hard from when we
yeah,
got back in mid-September all the way to Christmas, just to fill
yeah,
online orders. And then we did open our retail store in mid-October, but the flow of people has been very, very slow, relatively speaking, to what it was before.
yeah,
Because the general messaging, as you know, is that Lahaina town is closed. Well,
right,
visitors don't really understand the difference between the burn zone and other areas of Lahaina. They hear Lahaina town is closed, people say stay away from Lahaina. That's not good for businesses that exist and can operate and are operating, because they don't have customers, or very few
right.
customers relative to what was before.
Yeah, it has been a very slow trickle. we get people all the time who are calling and guests who don't, for those who don't know, the Chamber of Commerce in many regions is your local visitors bureau. Here in Hawaii, especially, it's such a big industry that we refer them to the Maui Visitors Bureau. But for the calls that do come in, of course, we take them and talk to them as they have questions. And they keep saying, should we come back? Can we come back? They don't understand the nuances of some of the things they've heard with the first shutdown notice and the reopening notice that went out. And while that reopening notice was a little bit more intuitive for those who live here near the street areas, it was very confusing for others. And so, it's going to be a slow recovery. I know a lot of people are looking toward March. Is there a sense for you of when you think you're going to see more traffic out there?
Well, I think there are some other properties, businesses, I won't name names, but businesses that will be opening in probably more like April. I think March is not quite the right time yet for them, but very prominent businesses that are going to start opening, and we'll see how that goes. I know everybody's worried with the community backlash, but at some point, these businesses need to open or they will fold.
Right.
And the employees that were laid off are now they're nearing the end of their unemployment benefits, so they actually need to work. And I know that they want to work. I know that the people that we had that lost homes, who are living on the other side, not on the west side, they wanted to work, and they're back at work full time, and so they're commuting from the other side to Lahaina to work. And I think that's going to be the general case for most businesses that open, is that if their workers did not leave the island, which and some are, by the way, we are losing workers on a regular basis. And those people are not likely to come back because they'll establish, roots and have jobs elsewhere, and they just won't come back. So we are losing workers, and it is important to get the economy of the west side restarted. I know things are very different everywhere else in Maui, but on the west side, it's quite depressed.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up. And I really want to share for those things. So it's touches so many people, and I also used to run Maui United Way, and it's important to remember how important not only are people's, home family is to, their relationships and their well-being, but also their work family, because so many of us spend so much time at work with our coworkers. Also, you at work feel a sense of accomplishment. For many people, when you're really struggling with a lot of things, work can be your sanctuary too. It takes your mind off of a lot of the things that you're struggling with, or that are constantly on your mind. And people are wanting to get back to work, and we are working fast and furiously. We're working. We've had meetings with different groups, and we've had developers meeting with the mayor, and we have a lot of housing solutions. We're really trying at the chamber to put housing first, help people get back into stable housing so they can work across the island. For businesses in Lahaina, particularly, you've seen devastation with worker loss. Across the island, we're starting to see it. And we're also starting to see companies just who have struggled through COVID, barely made it out of COVID, and now are struggling again, getting to the point where they're not sure how much longer they can continue.
Well, there's several that have gone under. I mean, I know restaurants that are closed, right, that are not going to be open. Tamura's across the street from us is closed. The building is for lease, so they're not reopening. Foodland Farms and the Lahaina Gateway Center is closed. I don't know what they're going to do with that building. Maybe they'll open someday, but they're not open now. All of these businesses are accessible, and if they have the ability to maintain operations, they'd be open, but they don't. Or perhaps they just see that there's not enough business to warrant trying to open.
And we're running into tough issues to get people reopened with retail space, and the cost of retail space going up exponentially because there's such high demand. So we need to look at that because in some cases it's pushing uh, other businesses out of their lease. So we're seeing kind of a landslide and the high demand on retail space is driving higher costs. And we
Well, it also rolls over to the rental market because a
yeah,
lot of my employees now have to rent, and I'm very concerned that the new programs where basically the government's paying fair market short-term rentals prices, which is double or triple what a long-term rental normally costs.
right.
So when my long-term rental agreements with my employees have long-term rental agreements, when they come up, are they going to be priced out of the market because the landlords want to take advantage of the government program and get double or triple what they can get from the long-term renter? I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going to happen, but I can envision some landlords
Well,
taking advantage of it and raising the rent up so high that no one that works can afford to stay.
yeah, and that's why we want to get on with temporary housing that so we don't have to also keep moving people. And because, as you say, what's being paid by FEMA right now is extraordinary after the FEMA subsidies, and then those folks in those rentals will not be able to afford those units, and we know that. And even in many cases, the HOA fees are not even what they can afford to pay in those units. So it's one of the things where we have to get to housing first. It's one of our top priorities so we can help our community get in homes that they can count on and be in for 3, 5, 10 years until we get to rebuilding, whatever it takes. And then those temporary units can be redeployed to help other areas of our housing crisis for those who are houseless or have other issues that they're facing and need different types of units. They can be redeployed when people build, or they could be redeployed in different areas and allow people to continue to use them. These are not temporary housing these are not boxes and things that you've seen in the past.
Hmm.
There's some amazing units on the market that we can deploy you that look like great houses. Very different these days.
Right.
Um, Gunars, we're gonna have to go in just a couple of minutes, but I want to have you tell everybody where you're located and a brief future look. What do you see for the future of Lahaina?
Well, we're located in Little Lahaina Business Park at 78 Ulupano Street. And it's actually, for those of you that remember, that it's directly across the street from the old Star Noodle location, up at the top of the Lahaina Business Park. And we are open Monday through Friday, 10 to 4. Saturdays right now we're closed, but Sundays we open for Sunset Jazz, which is a very popular program. And that's run for a nonprofit arts education for children group. Also on Sunday, I run what we call the Chocolate Factory Experience. I run it for nonprofits on Sunday. They get the entire proceeds. Last Sunday, it was for the Surfrider Foundation Maui chapter, and we had 14 people on the experience. Each one paid $100, so that's $1,400 to the Surfrider Foundation. So I do that every Sunday, and Monday through Friday, I run the Chocolate Factory Experience for revenue. That's one of our main sources of revenue right now, because we needed to find alternatives since we have, such a small number of people coming into the factory. We needed to maximize what we could get from such small numbers of people. So the Chocolate Factory Experience is something where I personally lead people through the factory and show them the entire process. They get to taste things along the way that are not for sale. And then they go upstairs to our open air pavilion and they enjoy a chocolate tasting. So the total package is $100, Kama'aina 25% off. And part of the $100 and the Kama'aina package is a $25 gift card. So you automatically get rebated $25 to, of course, buy chocolate with. But that's the program. And it's just launched about 2 months ago. We're starting to ramp up. We're looking forward to the future, and it is a new source of revenue that we need to get through this. So let me just say a few things about the future, Lahaina. I guess the best thing I can say is I don't know what the future of Lahaina will be, but I do know that businesses need to be an integral part of it, and the businesses that are existing there that can operate need to be supported because they will be the seed that from what other businesses can grow from. And so I don't think businesses should be discouraged from opening up. It's a necessity to have an economy that gives people jobs and income because the government subsidies are going to end. And when that happens, people are either going to have a decent job to make money, or they're going to leave the island. And that's going to happen too, obviously. And as it spirals down and fewer people are available to work, in general, the economy will just sort of spiral downward. And I don't think that that's going to be a pretty picture if that happens.
Yep. We're gonna have to work really hard, and we do have to shore up our businesses and help those. We have dynamic entrepreneurs like you and so many others that are ready to jump in. Financing is really tough right now because of the huge losses they've sustained, but they're ready to jump back in. They're ready to continue on, and they're working hard to do it. Gunars, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. For all you do, I know you were working hard to get your employees back to work, and we were so grateful when you could get back to the factory and do that. And I appreciate all that you're doing to support our community through the nonprofit sector and in so many other ways.
Thank you, Pam.
You're very welcome. I hope you have a wonderful Maui day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Thank you. Aloha. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Mokulele Airlines, and then we're going to connect with Joe Pluta.
Mokulele Airlines operates the largest commuter airline hub in the country, right here in Kahului. Fly Mokulele from Kahului to Molokai, Lanai, Hana, Waimea, Kona, and now Hilo. Mokulele also operates the only flights between Kapalua and Honolulu. There is never a middle seat on Mokulele, and every seat has a window and aisle. Visit mokuleleairlines.com and take your next flight from the newly renovated Mokulele Terminal.
Welcome back to Business Matters. Boy, Pam, you got to give Gunars credit there for all the stuff that he's doing for Maui.
Oh my gosh, he has been doing so much, and I've always been impressed by his mission and his foundation. He was giving back long before he started the chocolate factory, which was amazing because he had a love for Maui. But to give 100% of net profit is amazing. But I think a lot of people are starting to realize, and now through his interview and other interviews.
Right. Speaking of amazing people, I'm going to give Joe Pluta a call right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, while you do, Gary, I'm going to introduce Joe. Joe has been a licensed real estate broker in Hawaii since 1972. He graduated from the University of Hawaii with a BBA in the Travel Industry Management program and real estate. He is a current member of the Board of Realtors Association of Maui, the Lahaina Rotary Club, where he serves greatly and volunteers on a number of community committees. Joe is also the past president of the West Maui Taxpayers Association, the Lahaina Rotary Club, and Maui Hotel Association. He is currently the president of the West Maui Improvement Foundation and the president of Church on the Go, which is an amazing church that serves the community of West Maui and others. So we're grateful to have Joe on. Hi, Joe. Aloha and good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. Good. I can barely hear you though, so I don't know if you're.
Okay, I'm gonna try and see if we can have. And I'm having the same issue, so we'll see if Gary can tune us both up a little bit. Is this better for you?
Well, I got my phone up to the max, so I don't know. I can hear you, but not as good as I'd like to.
Okay, sorry. Well, if if you don't hear what I said, I'll repeat it.
Okay.
So we're glad to have you on this morning. Before we kind of do some quick updates, can you give everybody an update on, you've been fighting for Olowalu fire station for some time. Can you share just a bit of your story on what you went through this year with the wildfires?
Sure. I unfortunately was almost a victim. Well, I was a victim, but I almost died because I had no warning on August the 8th of the danger to me in my area at Waiakuli. The fire in Lahaina was blowing with the wind violently away from Waiakuli and towards the ocean in Lahaina town. So the thought that it could somehow go against that extraordinary wind of 50, 60 miles an hour away from me was not conceivable. So I went to sleep that night thinking I was just be fine. And I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning when my smoke alarm went off, and I was coughing violently in my bedroom. And I didn't know what the heck was going on, but I got up. Thank God for my smoke alarm, and I was still coughing. And I tried to open the door from my bedroom, and as soon as I opened the door, these flames and smoke came rushing into my door. So I closed the door again immediately. But now the room was so filled with black smoke that I couldn't breathe at all. I was just coughing and coughing, couldn't breathe. And I had to feel my way with my hands down the wall of my bedroom till I got to the master bathroom where I knew there was a window. So I got there and I immediately punched out the screen of the window, stuck my hand and head through the opening and leaped outside of my bedroom out to the outside. It was just a small 5 foot, 6 foot drop. And I landed on my head. It's the gravel over there. It was okay. Just some minor scratches. But when I rolled over and looked up back towards my house, and my entire house was just a flame. And the window I had just jumped out of was smoke and flames coming out of that window. I mean, I don't know how many seconds there was had I not did immediately what I did to get out of there, that I would definitely be dead. So that was a very harrowing experience. I staggered out in front of my house on the street in Ainakea Street and looked all around me, and all it was like being in the Twilight Zone, where there was just this crackling, popping fire everywhere, all the homes on fire. And then some vortex of embers started swirling around me personally, physically, in the middle of my street, like I was being surrounded by a hurricane of embers and things going around my body. It was the weirdest thing I could ever have imagined. And I was literally getting burned in the middle of my street. So I ran down the street away from that. Fortunately, that vortex of flames fell off me. But I managed to get out of that. And then I went another half a block further towards the Civic Center and police station there and headed down towards the ocean, where I sat down at Waiakuli Beach Park there on the street, and some miraculous fire truck showed up, a utility vehicle or something. I don't know. I still don't understand how I was fortunate enough for that to happen at that time. But the guys saw me and they said, "Hop on, we'll take you to the buses that are taking people to the shelters." I hopped on their vehicle and they took me down to Kahana, where we loaded up on a bunch of buses who were taking people to Maui Preparatory Academy for a shelter there, where I was able to get help. And I got a hold of my family, who got me to the emergency room and at the Maui hospital, and found out that now I had arterial fibrillation and a congestive heart failure as a result of that trauma, which I've been dealing with. It's it's just yeah, it's incredible
I
experience.
I know that have fought in you've fought in war, and you had PTSD from that, and I know you said this was so much worse.
Well, we've been working on health and safety for West Maui for 45 years, Pam. I started the West Maui Taxpayers 45 years ago.
Yeah.
And our concern has always been that West Maui's out of sight, out of mind. We were just kind of like another island by ourselves. We had nobody paying attention to us. We didn't have a state representative. We didn't have any kind of proper representation for West Maui in recognition of the fact that West Maui was producing over 50% of all the revenues the county and state were getting from Maui County. Over 50% was coming from West Maui alone, yet as far as return on investment or capital improvement projects, West Maui was not even on the map. So we started lobbying and fighting for recognition and saying, it's like you've got a Mercedes here, you still got to change the oil or it'll blow up. And we have West Maui and Mercedes, you got to give, some return on investment. This urgently needed things. And health and safety was being foremost. We said we need another fire and ambulance station in West Maui. You called 911, it would take an hour and a half before you got to the hospital, if you're lucky. Yeah, so the county said, yeah, they recognize that, and then someday they would get to it. But there's other areas that were more crucial at the moment. And we said, well, what if we build our own fire and ambulance station? They said, well, that's never been done. But if you did that, made it turnkey where all we had to do was staff it and man it to operate it, then sure, we would accept that. So we went about and did that. We built an Napili Fire and Ambulance Station. It's the only community that's ever did anything like that in the state of Hawaii ever. And it's been saving lives ever since then, as well as a tremendous amount of insurance reduction costs for people who lived within 5 miles of the fire station. They were saving 50% of their property insurance costs once that station opened up. So the donations we got was over $6 million, the land and dollars and donated services. It would have been a lot more, but it's been. We even had to buy the fire engine. We got a huge fire engine from LA County, and the furniture, everything. All the county had to do was to show up, and everything they needed was there. But
you've been trying to do it.
That's what we're doing now. And so we, after the Hurricane Lane fires happened in August of 2018, we said, okay, we've got to do something because Lahaina Town is going to burn up if we don't do something. Let's look at what happened, what went right, what went wrong. We had over 25 houses burned up in that Hurricane Lane one. And if it would have crossed over Lahaina Luna Road, we would have lost Lahaina Town. So let's meet and talk about what went right, what went wrong, what can we do as a community together to have an emergency evacuation plan that we can rely upon and work on together. And then emergency manager Herman and Daya refused to get involved with us, saying, no, we've got too much liability. We're not going to let anybody know all the things we did wrong. We're too concerned about that. You can't talk about any of these things. He showed, I guess, well, since that time, we've got the after action report published on our website at westmaui.org, and it's taken years to get them to release that information. But now that Herman's gone, thank God, we've got hope for a better future. But we need all these fires are originating, Pam. Not all of them, but most of them on a notorious basis. And you know what notorious means. I mean, that's something that's not questioned. It's happening without question over and over again. And that's what happens with us here in Oluwalu. The fires originate, and then they spread going towards Lahaina. And they do that every year. They've done it for the last several years, ever since we stopped doing sugarcane and having that beautiful sugarcane being a fire break
that
barrier.
greenery, yeah.
Yeah, when we lost that over 20 years ago, now we got brush instead of sugarcane, and it's just never been fully understood or comprehended that, okay, you took away a fire barrier that was, you know, so instrumentally important for the health and safety of West Maui. Now that's gone away. Now we've got to implement proper fire safety prevention procedures to counteract that we no longer have that fire barrier. The landowners need to do fire breaks and preventions, and we got to do some planning about evacuation routes, all these kind of things. But none of that stuff was being considered, and it was just something we were just so concerned about. So we went and talked to the landlord. We talked to the mayor Victorino at the time. We said, "What if we repeated what we did in the Pili and build another fire station in Olawalo the same way?" He said, "Oh, well, obviously we would definitely embrace that and put it in the budget if you did that." And so we set about doing that over a year ago. This is before the August fires, and we're still working our way towards that. We've got the land donated. We've been working diligently on engineering reports, soils reports, drawings. We've worked with the fire department, the fire chief, on design plans, and found that we could take advantage of the Canadian company that was manufacturing fire stations and modular components, shipping them all over the world. We provided the county council and the mayor with a copy of the Dade County of Miami, Florida, where they did a due diligence on these fire stations and bought 3 of them for just under $9 million. They were able to buy 3 complete fire stations for Miami for under $9 million and have them now underway in implementation in Miami. So this is what we need here. We can do it for $2 million. We can build a fire station in Olawalo, and we're about $600,000 along the way there. We're $1.4 million short. There's consultant studies and things have cost a couple $100,000, so it's going to be we're going to need some more on top of that to compensate for that. But the county's new planning director is be the 3rd person now we're working with to help us implement this county director-initiated permit process, which the administration's agreed to do for us, so that they will be applying to themselves for a permit to do the fire station there in Olawalo.
You know, I really, with all of the funding that has come in, and I know you've been out and have done many stories on the Olawalo Fire Station. I've done many stories on the Olawalo Fire Station. And with so much money pouring in, I am just floored that we're still 1.4 million short on donations.
Yeah, I'm shocked, actually. You know, Tim, of all the things that are going on, it's amazing. There's so many incredible brand new nonprofits that have brought up and come into play, saying that here they are to be helping the people of West Maui. Send us the money. And I guess Maui Strong is being administered by the Hawaii Community Foundation, which we've now applied for a grant through them for the balance of what we're looking for. And we're under review right now, and we're hoping that they will favorably consider us, because they've got all the money we need, not way in excess of what we need. And we're the only physical thing that's currently underway that can definitely save lives in the future. So to prevent this from happening, there's no other thing that's not temporary or short-term in terms of that. So it's like, for us to be overlooked, we should have been the very first choice. And plus, we have a successful track record for over Oh my God! Since we built that fire station at Pelee in 1996, that was like 30 years of actual, almost track record of proven experience about what we've done. So if
Absolutely.
we have credibility, we have a proven track record, we have the need, we have everything that needs to make sense to go forward, and yet it's not being recognized that way, which is
Yeah.
a real head scratcher. It doesn't make any sense at all.
I'm just blown away. I mean, honestly, with coming from Maui United Way, and I understand that when you talk about human needs, people gravitate to that. It's something they can understand, they can experience. So, we've seen so much money come in from social services, which is it was such a blessing. I mean, we've had such a blessing with people from all across the world. But our social services right now are very well funded. And, I really thought that, with the chamber, we've got our foundation, and we've been trying to raise money to help businesses pivot, especially businesses who can't take on any more debt because of their idle loans from COVID. And we've been helping to promote the fire station. I really thought the fire station message would resonate, especially knowing your story, especially the history of what you've built in Napili, and especially because you yourself, you lost your home, you lost your office, and still you're out on the front lines after working on this plan in 2018, championing this message with Rick Nava, who his family also barely escaped with their lives, and it just is time. We just need to find the money to make this happen now.
Way in
So we've
excess
only
of
got
millions
1
of
minute.
dollars that have been contributed to help Maui and the West Maui and Lahaina. Why we haven't got our little small portion of that, which is all, it really is a small portion. I understand that
It
we're
is.
over
Joe,
$50 million of money has
Joe,
come
we're
in.
gonna have to have. Okay, folks, we're gonna have to have Joe cut off only because we're out of time. It's radio. We've got to go to the next program. So I'm so sorry. He's absolutely right. We go to the West Valley Improvement Foundation. There you can donate. Folks, it goes quick, and I wish we had so much more time to have Joe talk. Give to the Olawala Fire Station. We're 1.4 million short. Give. This is infrastructure we need. For those listening, I appreciate you listening into Business Matters. We hope you'll join us again next Tuesday, and I want to say blessings and aloha for a beautiful Maui day. Ahui ho.